Jeju Island is Korea's not-so-secret vacation island destination. It's the third most popular place to visit in Korea after Seoul and Busan. The beauty and unique culture of the island has captured many people's attention, including fictional characters like player 67 Kon Se-byuk on Squid Game, who dreamed of going to Jeju if she won the prize money.
뭐 어디 가고 싶은 데라든지. 제주도. 제주도?
While millions of people visit every year, many end up planning vacations that fail to meet their expectations. With some simple understanding of the island and how to get around, you can plan a vacation that is guaranteed to be packed with exciting adventures that await. Alright, so the first thing you need to learn about Jeju Island is that it's a fairly large island. In fact, the biggest in Korea. At about 3 times the size of the capital city of Seoul, it is much harder to get around than most people anticipate. While you can easily navigate around the capital city of Seoul via a number of transportation such as subway, buses, taxi, car, whatever it may be, on Jeju you're limited to 2 main forms of transportation, either by car or by bus. While buses are fairly frequent and punctual in the 2 main cities on Jeju, anywhere outside of the city centers are far less reliable. So renting a car will cut your travel time in half, allowing you to see and do more than twice as many things on your trip than if you were to take a bus. It's for this reason that nearly half of all of the cars on Jeju roads are rental cars. Still, many people plan a lackluster trip after renting a car. And that's because you need to understand the regions and roads of Jeju to maximize your time here in the beautiful nature, seeing the sights, and not all day in the car. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at what the different regions of Jeju are and the roads you can use to get around the island. Jeju is a large subtropical volcanic island with a large shield volcano in the center of the island that makes a large part of it uninhabitable. This large mountain is called Hallasan, and it is the largest mountain in all of South Korea. Because the large area in the center is mostly taken up by the mountain, most of the cities and towns you'll find in Jeju stick to the coastline around the edge. The first main division we have of the island is the north and the south. The north being called Jeju, named after the island, and the south being called Seogwipo. Both of these regions actually have a major city with the same name as the region itself. So in the north we have Jeju City, and in the south we have Seogwipo City. These 6 regions are the 6 main regions people refer to in terms of the island. So we have Jeju City and Seogwipo City, of course, in the north and south. Then to the right of Jeju City, we have the northeast, the southeast, the southwest, and the northwest. We'll start at Jeju City and work our way around the island, listing off the other smaller townships. So first in the northeast, we have 2 major divisions to the right of Jeju City, Jocheon directly to the east, and Gujwa directly to the east of that. Then in the southeast, we have 3 major divisions over here. Starting at the far east side, we have Seongsan, then we have Pyeosan, and lastly Namwon. Sorry, spelled that wrong. Namwon. Then finally we get to Seogwipo City, being the major city in the south, and to the west of that we have the southwest, which is broken into 3 regions. The first one being here, and the last 2 being over here. So just to the west of Seogwipo City, this is technically part of Seogwipo City, but it's recognized as its own region because it's a special tourist complex called Jungmun. To the west of Jungmun, we have the small region of Andok. And lastly, at the far southwest, we have Daejeong. And lastly, we have 3 more divisions in the northwest. So just above Daejeong, we have the region of Hangyeong. Then we have Hanlim. And lastly, Aewol makes up the 13 major regions of the island. There's technically 14 regions, but the one I didn't include is this large island off the east coast, that is Udo. You'll notice some other small islands off the coast. These are all visitable. So we have Kapado, you can get there by ferry, and Marado, which is the furthest southern point in all of South Korea. Over here we have Chagido, and lastly we have Byangdo. Chujado is also an island located off the northwest side of Jeju Island, but it's actually closer to the mainland of Jeollado, so we don't really include it because it's not easy to get to. So now that we have the 13 regions mapped out, let's talk about the major roads and ways to get around the island. Jeju City is the capital and main city of the entire island. You'll find places like the airport, large resorts downtown, and the harbor in Jeju City. So most roads start from Jeju City and work their way into the other regions. The first major road we have is a road that actually goes all the way around the coast of the island, Sticking fairly close to it, this is a major highway kind of road. There's no official highways in Jeju, but this road has the fastest speed limit that you can go, which is about 70 or 80 kilometers an hour. So the first road is the 1132. This goes all the way around the island in a complete loop. There's also another large looping road that also follows the coastline, but a bit further inland at about 300 meters elevation. It kind of almost mimics the 1132, and that road is called the 1136. Now, using these two roads, the 1132 and the 1136, of course you can get to every single major region on the island, but as I said before, it's a very large island. So if you were to take this road, it would take you roughly 4 hours, 4.5 hours to get around the entirety of the island. If you're in Jeju City, and say for instance you want to go to Seogwipo City, that's not very practical. If you take this large road, it'll take you about 2 hours. So the first two roads that we'll talk about connect Jeju City and Seogwipo City. So the first one comes from Jeju City and goes over Hallasan in the west and connects to Jungmun. Then there's also another one that does the same, connects from Jeju City over Hallasan and into Seogwipo City. These two are the 1100 on the west and the 516 in the east. These are the two major roads that connect Jeju City and Seogwipo City in the south. Then we have two major roads that connect Jeju City to the far southwest and the far southeast. Those two roads start here in Jeju City, go through Aewol, through Andok, and all the way into Daejeong. That one is called Pyeongwaro. You'll see it labeled on maps as the 1135. Similarly, in the east, we have a road that goes from Jeju City through Jocheon, through Gujwa, and into the port city of Pyosan. This is called Bonyang-ro, and you'll see it labeled on the map as the 97. Lastly, there are three smaller roads that connect the north to the south. One of them connects Namwon to Jocheon. This one is called Namjo-ro, or Namwon Jocheon-ro, and you'll see this labeled on the map as the 99. Lastly, there are two roads that connect Halim to the south. The first one connects Halim to Jungmun, and one that connects Halim to Daejeong. You'll see these labeled on the map as the 1116 and the 1120, respectively. The last type of road that we'll talk about are some roads that travel from east to west, and these roads kind of connect some of the major roads that we've already laid out. So in the north, we'll start with the 1117, which connects Pyeongwaro to the 516. Then in the south, we have a road that connects Pyeongwaro way out here in Andok all the way to the 516, and that road is the 1115. And last but not least, the 1119 connects the 516 all the way over to Seongsan. Again, this is the 1119. So there you have the major roads of the island. With these roads, you can get relatively quickly from any one region to the other. Relatively speaking, of course, because the island is quite large. The cool thing about these road systems, especially the large circumnavigating roads, is that you can calculate how long it takes to get between different regions. So from one region adjacent to the region next to it is about 20 minutes travel time. So from Jeju City to Aewol, it's about 20 minutes. Similarly, from Aewol to Halim is about 20 minutes. From Halim to Hanggang, 20, and so on and so forth across the entirety of the island. So if we go ahead and add that up, we'll see 20, 40, 1 hour, 20, 40, 2 hours, 20, 40, 3 hours, 20, 40, 4 hours and 20 minutes. It should take us 4 hours and 20 minutes traveling along the 1132 to get around the entirety of the island. If we punch this into neighbor maps, we get, wouldn't you know it, about 4 hours and 20 minutes. So the cool thing about this is it doesn't just work for the circumnavigating roads, it actually works from north to south as well. So if we're in Jeju City and we want to get to Daejeong, say we want to take the ferry to Gapado or Marado, we know that in Jeju City to Aewol is 20 minutes, from Aewol to Andok is 20 minutes, and from Andok to Daejeong is 20 minutes. It should take us an hour to get from Jeju City to Daejeong. If we put that into neighbor maps, you'll see that it does in fact take an hour to get from Jeju City to Daejeong. So you can kind of see how traveling between different regions really starts to add up time in the car. And you get to the first major problem that people have when planning a trip in Jeju, and that is they tend to stay in either Jeju City or Seogwipo City, and they tend to commute to different attractions. You can find the major tourist attractions are spread out across all of the regions, and staying in just one central city and traveling back and forth is really going to add up time in the car and leave you with less time to see the attractions themselves. So, as I said before, Jungmun is a tourist complex. Let's say, for instance, we're staying here in Jungmun. One popular thing to see in Jeju Island is Sunrise Peak out here in Seongsan. So we wake up early, we get in the car, and we drive from Jungmun to Seongsan. We can calculate that. It should be 20, 40, 60, 80 minutes, or an hour and 20 minutes to get from Jungmun to Seongsan. If we put that in Naver Maps, we see that that's pretty accurate. Then we want to go see one of the beautiful cafes and the beaches in Jocheon. So that'll take us another 20, 40 minutes to get to Jocheon. After sipping our coffee in Jocheon, we decide that we'll get lunch down in Namwon. Well, that only takes us about 20 to 40 minutes. So let's see, 20, 40 minutes to get down to Namwon, and we have lunch there in Namwon. Lastly, we decide we want to see the sunset in Daejeong at Suerbong. It's a beautiful place to see the sunset. So we take another 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. Or an hour and 40 minutes to get out here and watch the sunset over Cheogido. You can start to see how our entire day has been spent in the car, and we've only seen about 4 different attractions in Jeju. This is why people in Jeju will actually recommend that you stay in one region and focus on one region. Jeju is especially popular on short holidays, like 3-day weekends, and people think that they can see the entirety of the island in 3 days, and it's just simply not feasible. If you are going to do a 3-day vacation or 2-day vacation in Jeju, I recommend you pick one of the 6 major regions, whether it be Jeju City, the Northeast, the Southeast, Seogwipo City, the Southwest, or the Northwest. Of course, if you're staying in Seogwipo, you can kind of see the things adjacent to it, but that's what I would recommend, is stay somewhere central to about 2 to 3 different regions you want to see on your vacation. Sure, you won't get to see all of the different great tourist attractions that Jeju has to offer, but you will get to see more than if you had just stayed in one of the cities and traveled to different regions from your hotel in Seogwipo or Jeju City. If you want to learn more about driving in Jeju and some of the things to look out for, some of the road rules and things that you'll need in order to rent a car in Jeju, make sure to check out this video here and be sure to subscribe for more content.